Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free. And it's 100% ridiculously easy to use. We find it really convenient for Night Moves Radio and our Cloverleaf Radio network. We record when it's best for us, and best of all, we can record on the go or at home. With this easy app, it makes doing our show so much fun and very easy. Anyone wanting to start a podcast? I suggest using Anchor. Perhaps it'd be a great starting point for you.
Alrighty, we are back for another exciting edition of Cloverleaf, or should I say Cloverleaf Radio. I'm the host of the most, Jimmy Falcon, the king of the quarantine, and with us today is a very talented, lovely actress and a pretty talented swimmer from what I've read, Brittani Ebertn. How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you? You hanging in there?
I'm doing pretty good. I figured today it's probably been about a month that all this has been going down, and although I've still been working, it sucks because I haven't been able to travel, I haven't been doing conventions and all that stuff, so I missed the road and I missed the world. How's things out your way?
Yeah, I mean, pretty, I forget, are you in the Midwest?
Yes, I am in Illinois, not too far from where you grew up.
Yeah. I grew up in Madison and then lived in Chicago for about 4 years before I moved out to LA. But LA's going pretty well. I mean, with the downtime now, I try to only, from what it sounds like with most people, I try to only watch the news every other day or every couple days just to kind of get the gist of it. Otherwise, you can really kind of get sucked in with the ever-changing daily news and outlook of it. So, I mean, the streets are kind of quiet, which is kind of nice. I can actually hear regular sounds outside, and boy, if you do get outside, it's kind of weird that there's no clouds most of the time, so I don't know if that actually has something to do with pollution or not. I will have to double check my old meteorology books because I did study a bit of that in college, and I don't remember what it says about clouds versus no clouds, but I just think that's really interesting each time that I've had to go out grocery shopping. There's been no clouds, so I don't know what the answer to that is. I just find that fascinating.
Yeah, I heard people are actually able to see their spouses now when they're walking down the sidewalk in LA. It's pretty interesting to to be able to see half a foot in front of you.
Yeah. Although when I was out the last time grocery shopping, towards down, because I'm in Burbank. I think Burbank reminds me the most of the Midwest. People are a little bit nicer. They kind of nod or give you a wave in the alley as you're driving by, on your way to work. This is obviously a month or so ago, but people are just a little more apt to say hello and kind of wave and things like that. But anyway, if you look towards going into Hollywood, towards the hill, you can kind of start to see smog sometimes. And I thought, well, wait a minute. And I thought we just cleared this up. How is this back already? So I think some people are breaking the rules here.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, it's LA. Come on.
Well, what I found interesting was that you are so accomplished at swimming.
Oh, yeah. Well, that started, which is probably not too different from maybe other kids that had to learn how to swim. My parents are deathly afraid of the water. They never shared that they had a near drowning experience, or maybe they just have always been afraid to go in. So they made sure that I was in swim lessons from a very early age. So I think I started, as early, I teach swimming lessons in the summer when the industry slows usually. And so I've taught infants all the way up through adults, but I probably started at, 5, 6, 7. That's the usual age that, I teach, because that's kind of when you can retain the most information and actually try to get your body through the water. But so with that came swim team and lifeguarding and teaching swimming lessons and coaching swim team. I walked onto my college swim team. It's a Division I team, even though it was it's at UW Milwaukee. It's not the main school in Wisconsin, UW-Madison is really what everybody knows, but still, Milwaukee is a Division I school that not many people know about. I mean, it's not Big Ten or Pac-12 or anything like that, but to be able to walk on to a D1 swim team, I think was a pretty good accomplishment. I mean, sure, I swam in the lane furthest away from the middle, like they call that the slow lane, which is like all the way over to the wall. So it's like, who knows if the coach really saw me doing the drills or anything anyway. But with that, grew into swimming from Alcatraz in 2015. And actually before that, when I swam in college, we took training trips to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where they have the Hall of Fame pool. That Johnny Weissmuller, who played Tarzan in the movies, and Esther Williams, as we all know, those two, really, Johnny was a founder of that pool. And so it's an Olympic-sized pool, platform dives. So we trained there while I was in college, a couple of years in a row when I was on the team, and then we would do ocean miles in Boca Raton, Florida. So when I swam, so my joke is when I swam in Florida, I swapped warm water and jellyfish for cold water and sharks when I swam from Alcatraz in 2015. So, and everyone asked me like why I did it and how was it and this, that, and the other. I don't know, ever since I saw in the news years ago about this woman who I think was 62 or 66 swam the English Channel in just her swimsuit, I thought, well, geez, what's my Mount Everest moment? You know, I'm not actually going to climb Mount Everest. I've seen too many scary movies on that, and I'm just not conditioned for that, even though I'm from Wisconsin. I hate the cold. I thought, well, let me give this a try. And sure, it was like 10, 17 years after college, so it was a little bit of a training curve to get back to it. But I made my friend's husband swim with me, and we did it. It's a mile and a half. Basically from the island to the bay. You stopped at the San Francisco Yacht Club, and so you just kind of wash up on shore there, and then there's this great place, I think, called the Buena Vista, where you get Irish coffees, famous Irish coffees. So we went and celebrated there, and almost everybody that was swimming with us, you could see, because they had the same wet hair, the same Alcatraz t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to bring that up, because that was like notoriously known back in the day when it was actually a prison to be unescapable. There's stories about people swimming and being considered dead. So I think doing that, even, in recent years, is pretty awesome, especially with sharks nibbling at your bum.
Yeah, I mean, my friend's husband, I think he was, no pun intended, getting cold feet before we swam, because I was actually taking it serious. I would, like, the group that we swam with, like, they have a little disclaimer, for strong swimmers only. You must be able to swim a mile in the pool in under 40 minutes. And I was coming in at 45, and I wasn't practicing like every day or like really hardcore, but I was at least in the water and like building up endurance. And he hadn't really practiced. He was busy with work, and of course, like when I came up to San Francisco and stayed with them for the weekend, you could tell he was visibly nervous to swim. And I thought, oh God, please don't cop out on me now. I was like, I would not mind swimming it by myself, but first time after swimming ocean miles in Fort Lauderdale, like I'd be more comfortable with a buddy. I know there's going to be like herds of other people swimming, but it is, like I said, warm water and jellyfish for cold water and sharks. I am a little bit.
Right.
I just want to have the comfort of a buddy, and I suggest that for anybody doing something challenging. And it's hard to find a swimming buddy, because not everybody's comfortable and confident in their swimming skills. So he did it, and but even the boat ride from where we started out to Alcatraz Island, you could tell he was still really nervous. And I was like, well, geez, how much did you practice? He's like, not at all. And I was like, oh, great. So I'm thinking this whole time I'm going to have to, like, wait for him to catch up. And I got to say the opposite happened, which kind of made me mad. When we jumped in, and we blame blame it on our wetsuits. I had a 3.2 millimeter wetsuit, and his was quite a bit thinner, and he was dipping through the water, and he actually had to wait for me, and I was like, well, what was nice about the program we swam with, the rule was, you swim a little bit, and then you pop your head up, and you spot where your finish is, and they gave us like a landmark to look at. So we swam first thing in the morning, so the waves are really calm, so the water is almost glass. But you still had to look up and spot, so that way you wouldn't be drifting away. And so, like, we'd swim a little bit, and I'd say, Wayne, and he'd swim a little bit, and he'd say, Brittany. So we just kind of kept on each other's radar. But, because I was practicing and prepping, and here he, like, stole the show. And so, of course, he's like, I'm ready to do it again. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, let's see when that happens. But to get back to your question as far as, like, yeah, there's that, the fable of, like, did the three make it? And that's like everyone's favorite question when they, to ask me when they found out that I swam Alcatraz. At first, when I jumped in, so there's really no order to jumping in. I mean, people kind of wait their turn in line, but people are kind of jumping on top of each other. So I waited till most people went, and then I jumped in because, I mean, my God, if you get jumped on, it could be over, over before you start, depending on, if they hit your shoulder or knock the wind out of you or whatever. Out. But it was pretty cool to me. But in talking to people heading out who had done it before, I mean, we saw, like, father-daughter swimming, high school swim team swimming, so I was like, okay, we're fine. Like, we do not need to be as afraid as we think we are, because there's people of all ages, young and old, that are swimming, so we'll fit right in. And like I told my friend Wayne, I was like, I don't need to come in first, I just want to finish. But when we jumped in, it was pretty cold compared to what everybody was saying. It was like 63, maybe. But they had been, like, some of these veteran distance, like, open water swimmers said sometimes it's been down to 30. And some people didn't even have a wetsuit. They just had a regular old swimsuit or a Speedo and swam. And so at first it was pretty cold to get used to. On a wetsuit, you've got everything but your hands, your feet, and your head covered up. So unless you have booties or gloves or the hood, man, it pierces through your skin, and you've got to keep moving your hands and your toes so hypothermia doesn't set in. And so it's like you try to swim faster so your body warms up. And but I'll tell you, for the first quarter, I didn't put my face in the whole time. It was way too cold to just do one or two strokes before I had to come up and take a breath. So I ended up swimming the whole thing backstroke. So I don't know if anyone else can say that, but I'm pretty proud of that, because freestyle is usually your strongest and your fastest stroke. So for me to be able to swim it backstroke, I think was a pretty good challenge. And I got a cool different view. I got to see the island getting smaller and the birds swimming above. But again, back to your question, whether or not these three guys survived, when I first started, I didn't think so, because I was so swept up in nerves and being anxious and just, you're taking really short breaths because it's the excitement of everything starting. But I thought, I can't tap out. That's not a story I want to tell people is, hey, how did the swim go? And then for me to be like, oh, yeah, no, I couldn't make it. But I'm going to do it next year. I didn't want to leave with that story. So I was like, just calm down, get your breathing in check. And once I did, and I think that's just true for anything that is scary or challenging in our lives, just get your breathing in check, and that's going to calm your mind and your body so you can go for whatever you're going for. So once I calmed my breathing, it was pretty cake after. And I thought, boy, maybe these guys did make it. Plus, you've got your intensity and your will to survive. Like, I was just doing this for fun. They're escaping for their freedom. So I think they could have done it. I think the will and the determination, if it's there, absolutely. And they should remain free and anonymous if they made it. You know what I mean? To be able to
absolutely
cross that.